Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Grow Your Practice podcast. I'm here with Shane, who is the owner of the Movement Meal. How are you going today, mate?
I'm great. I'm really good. Thanks for having me on.
No, that's all good. I can't wait to have a chat today. So you don't mind if I start off with a couple of introduction questions so we get to know you a bit more?
Absolutely. I think that'd be good. I'm a bit
Awesome.
nervous. So.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so who inspires you?
Who inspired me? To be in business or to be a physio?
We'll touch on business.
I think business was really my dad.
Yeah.
So my dad was in the Navy for 20 years, and we had what I'd almost say is like I had two existences. So we were really okay, but we were never well off. And then all of a sudden, my dad left the Navy and started a business in real estate. And everything kind of changed. We had bigger holidays, we had other nicer things, and I was like, hey, business is a great idea.
It's not too bad.
And also my dad really did inspire me in terms of, never giving up and always believing that I could achieve anything, even if people, and especially if people told me that I couldn't. That was one of the things he kind of instilled within me.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, moving on to the next one. What was your dream occupation growing up?
So funnily enough, being a physio was an absolute fluke. I wanted to be a computer programmer. I put down 4 computing subjects. And at the time, I put down physio because I felt a bit guilty that if I got good marks, maybe it was a waste doing computer programming. But I like writing games. I love solving puzzles. And it was a fluke. I got into physio and I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. And it's been the biggest, most incredible fluke of my life because I don't think I would have done well stuck in a room dealing with computers. I love people and they're the best puzzles in the world. Getting to solve them and getting to help them. It's just, So I never really wanted to be a physio, but I couldn't think of being anything else.
Yeah, well, they're completely different occupations.
I know. But I was like a little nerd that used to like play games in his room and I wrote Pac-Man games and wrote games for myself. And so
oh, wow.
Look at me now.
Awesome. Okay. On to our third point. What's your main hobby right now?
I actually like racing cars. So I got a car, I take it to the track, and that's my outlet. It's the one time that people can't hassle me. A couple of times I forgot to turn the Bluetooth off and I'm driving along and it does ring. But it's just you switch off, you're focused on something else. It's just a total escape in me time. And it's heaps of fun.
Yeah, awesome. Can I ask you what car you drive?
I've got an M3.
Okay, nice. Wow, powerful.
Yeah, I've got a new one. So it's just come out. So it's about 3 or 4 months old now. It's amazing.
Yeah,
very quick.
Blow off a bit of steam.
Yeah.
For the fourth point, dream location to travel to.
Anywhere near the water. My happy place is in the water. So I love diving, snorkeling. I love any sort of tropical beach, island, or a 5-star hotel with a swim-up pool bar.
Yeah. Can't complain with that.
They're my ideal locations. But I love adventure. So I love Hawaii. Sorry about that. I love Hawaii. And I just like to go to new places. So I wouldn't mind going to Egypt and the Red Sea.
Yeah, wow. Okay. Yeah, awesome. And for our last point, where'd you grow up?
I was born in Nowra. So I was born in the Shoalhaven.
Yeah.
And then I moved up to Sydney with my dad because he was in the Navy station down there. And I came up here when I was 5. So I grew up in Sydney. And I grew up in Concord in Sydney. Yeah. And then moved around, went overseas, worked overseas for a few years as well as a physio. And then now I've got a family. I'm back in Concord where I actually grew up.
Yeah. Okay, nice.
Creature of habit.
Well, awesome. Thanks. That's all for the introduction questions. So take us sort of back to when you wanted to get into that computing and then that pivot towards physio, like your journey between that into obviously completing your degree.
Yeah, look, like I said, I just put it down not knowing what it was. So, at the end of school, you put down subjects and I got into physio. So it wasn't really anything that was well researched or understood. Yeah. And then I started studying at Sydney Uni and it was a shock because I didn't realize how much anatomy and science was going to be involved. And it was very initially because a lot of it's theoretical. As a physio, all the theory and things is great and it's really important. But I wasn't until towards the end of my studies that I really started to have a few light bulb moments. And it's when I got to work with people. The knowledge was great, but it once I started working with people, that's what I loved.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so did you go straight into the private health sector, or did you go to the public?
Yeah, 100%. So
Yeah.
I was, back in my day, not many people did what I did. They used to go in mostly into allocation.
Yeah.
And I was very, very clear from the day one that I didn't want to work in a hospital. I wanted to work in private practice. I just saw that as the best opportunity for me to be able to use all my skills. And you know, hospitals are great places, but I didn't like the smell. I didn't like a lot of, and so yeah, I always knew private practice was for me.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I'd love you to touch on, because as you said, you moved away for a bit. I think it was to London. Did I read that correctly? Yeah. What was that moment where you just were like, wow, I want to have a crack at starting a practice?
Well, so I didn't start a practice in London, though.
Yeah.
So do you mean when I moved to London?
Yeah. Do you move to London, get a bit of experience over there, and then move back here?
So I've
and
done
then
4.5 years here. I'm a very loyal kind of person. I stayed in one job for 4.5 years.
Yeah.
And I worked my way up and built a really good clientele base. And I even learnt another skill, like in terms of being a hand therapist. And it got to 4.5 years, and I think I was just sort of thinking, well, where do I go to next? An opportunity came up to go to London. I literally quit my job. I had a house. I rented the house out, and I moved over there with really no idea what I was getting myself into. And I got over there, and it was challenging at that stage because there was an oversupply of physios. So I struggled to get work. I had a couple of other amazing jobs working in bars, and I was delivering sandwiches on a push bike, which is my favorite job in the world. You get free sandwiches and you get to exercise. And yeah, I kind of did that for 3.5 years. I worked in a hand unit. It was interesting. I was working with international physios from all around the world. We had 16 hand surgeons, and I learned a lot. And I learned about how physio is in different countries and things like that as well.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. And then so what if after those 3 years you moved back here and then had a crack at...
Look, it was amazing, but my thing is sun and water. There's not a lot of water, but it's a bit cold to get into. So yeah, after about 3.5 years, I realized, I just needed to come home. So came home, and got back into physio. So I went from being a physio that did hands to working primarily in hands and upper limb, and then came back to Australia and reinvented myself as a musculoskeletal physio, working on the whole body again. And that was after doing for 3.5 years of hands. It was a sort of a new thing and a bit of a challenge getting back into it.
And then that's when you sort of had a crack at starting your own practice?
No. So at that stage, I got a job for somebody else and realized that it wasn't really, I'm a great guy, but just wasn't going anywhere because it was me and the boss. And there was no career progression. There was nowhere I could go. So I did that for 6 months. And then I was lucky enough that I found a job somewhere else. I ended up finding another job at another company. And that worked out to be one of the best decisions I made, because that person mentored me. I learned the ropes. So there was lots of opportunities for career progression. I remember when I went to the interview, I actually said to him, and he's a friend of mine, and he said this the other day, remember what you said in the interview? And I said to him, I'm going to be a physio for the next 6 to 12 months, and then I'm leaving. Because all my mates were doing all this other stuff and working different hours. And it was like, I don't think I'm going to do this for long, but it was the skill I had. So I was going to do it for 12 months while I saved enough money to go back and study or do something totally different. But as is the story of my life, there are always amazing flukes and coincidences. And it was just a great job where I really started to be re-inspired about being a physio and seeing the potential of it. And then in that role, I started as a physio, and then I clawed my way up to sort of a senior physio, I guess, or a management. I was managing a clinic, and then eventually I bought into that clinic. And so that's where I learned the ropes of, businesses and, profit and loss and budgeting and forecasting. So I was really lucky that I learned all of those things whilst I was still, being mentored and working under someone else's banner.
And I'd love to hear how you actually give your staff, because I think you've got, was it 27 under management at this current moment?
So we're hopefully cracking 30 soon, but
Awesome. How do you go about giving them that progression through the ranks? Obviously what you had.
Well, we just filmed a video on it, so I've spent the last 6 months working a lot on that. for me, our motto was always live the life you want. That was something when I started the movement meal 4 years ago. It was like, I didn't want to have cookie cutter solutions for our patients. I wanted to make it their goal, what they wanted. And I knew even when I was a younger physio, sometimes I used to put, what get patients' goals were, and I'd tell them what they needed. So I decided when I started this one, it was going to be live the life you want, help people achieve what they want, not what I want for them. And then I had a light bulb moment maybe 6 to 9 months ago when I realized that's actually now my motto for my team. My existence now, I'm actually off the tools. I'm not treating anymore. And I get my juices filled when I mentor my team and see them grow and develop, just like when I used to treat people and see them grow and develop. So my motto is now live the life you want for my team. So I created a whole pathway that's documented, that has progressions all the way through, and actually options as well. So, we start as a graduate, and there's a junior, and then you can actually go off into various streams of mentoring, flexibility, high income. So we've got some people that have been with us for a year, and one of them, their pathway, which we do a whole document on, is to become a mentor. So they're actually working towards doing some lecturing at university. We're supporting them in that, and we're coaching them through that as well. And then also that's going to pay it back to us, because they're going to actually help coach some of our team. So
awesome.
I hope that answers the question. It's a big question because I spent a lot of time on it, but I think the more that you document it, the more that you write these things down, and then we have a process where we go through that usually takes about 4 to 6 weeks with each person, where it's very individual, trying to work out where they want to be in 3 years' time, and then trying to create a pathway for them.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And I'd love to touch on how you've really made the movement meal unique within your area and industry.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I think I'm a bit of a black sheep. I'm not sure, but I feel like I am. And I don't like if someone says not to do it that way, sometimes I'll just do it because I like being different. But this was a very well thought out. Like, I started from the very beginning. Before I started this, I did a lot of research on demographics and incomes and all that sort of stuff, where I chose the place for my practice. And then I had probably a hiatus of about 3 or 4 months where I was not working. And I spent that 4 months creating a whole path, a whole manual and a whole business plan and everything else. So when I first started, I knew exactly who my core patient was going to be. I knew exactly why we wanted to be different, how we wanted to look, and the colors that we chose. Everything was really well thought out. And I think the difference is, for me, is that I'm a bit cheeky. I like having fun. I don't like being too serious. So, our clinics are kind of laid out that way. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of banter. There's a lot of playfulness and silliness. But I think that energy is fun as well. And a lot of our clients or patients actually vibe off that as well. And it's a fun place to work is the main thing. Awesome. But the other thing is, our practices look like sports practices. If you look at it, we've got squat racks, we've got, all the gear that you'd see in a sports practice, but I do not call ourselves a sports practice. We want to target what I call normal people, mums and dads. I think that's where I get so much pleasure seeing somebody get, a normal person get better. Not to say athletes aren't normal, but getting someone back on the field a week early doesn't really excite me as much as, getting a grandmother being able to play with their grandkids. So for us, it's about, we have everyone from maybe 8 till, we had a 99-year-old patient last year. So anyone through that age, we're there to try to help everyone. And it's just, more of a informal, fun place to go.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Now, I'd love to touch on marketing, because obviously that's where our focus is right now. And obviously you've scaled up to about 7 clinics at this point. I'd love to hear what you've done in regards to obviously attract that demographic. I know you've done a little bit of SEO, I've seen on your site, but I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, it was a huge learning curve. So, I knew early on that I didn't want to just rely on the traditional referral sources. We love working with GPs, we love working with specialists, but it leaves you a little vulnerable, if that GP moves on, or if they're away, or whatever else. So I've always wanted to make it that I could go out and reach my customers directly. I wanted to be able to build a reputation and be able to market to them. So I wasn't as reliant on others for my, referral sources. So I had to learn a lot about SEO. I was really lucky that I picked a good company to begin with. And I think at one point I might have chucked a whammy and gone somewhere else and realized the grass wasn't greener and went straight back.
Yeah. Okay.
But through the time, like I've learned so much about SEM, what is it, GDM, Google My
Yeah.
Business. I've learned all about all that stuff, and we've got quite a bit of structure around that as well. So it's sort of got to the point where it's a little bit passive now. I've got a lot of things set up, and I've got people that are in roles to look after that.
Yeah.
And then we do our organic stuff. So we're getting into a fair bit of social media at the moment. Instagram's our big one.
Yeah.
We're targeting that. I've just started getting into LinkedIn, which is, I think, how I met you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I could talk for ages about it. I'm not sure exactly what marketing you want to talk about, but there's a lot.
Well, obviously we're predominantly focused on SEO. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to also hear what you did in regards to that with producing organic content around your surrounding areas.
Yeah, so we do, a lot of my team write blogs. To begin with, I was writing them.
Yeah.
But we actually have everybody contributes one blog usually every 6 months.
Yeah. Wow.
But they're also filming a fair bit of content. We're lucky that we seem to get really good reviews from many of our customers, so that helps in terms of our SEO.
Do you push Google reviews in any way or shape or form?
We're not really allowed to, because we're registered on an APRA, so we're not really allowed to. But we're very lucky that people tend to give us some. So yeah, we do pretty well with that.
Yeah.
The other thing that we do, though, I was just thinking, is I've gone blank. I'm sorry. So we do blogs,
backlinking, citations.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, so there's a fair amount of that goes on in the background.
Yeah.
So we do a fair amount of backlinking every month to make sure that we're getting those higher rankings as well.
Yeah, awesome. And keep going.
No, you're fine. Continue.
Yeah, and I'd also love to touch on social media. Are you running Facebook ads, Instagram ads at all?
No Instagram ads. Facebook ads we've done a few times. I've tried all sorts of things. Messenger ads tended to work really well, but were a lot of work. And we created some structures where I had some of my team responding to those messages. The other sort of Facebook ads, we've run various campaigns, but in terms of bang for buck, I haven't found it to be as worthwhile as some of the other stuff. So we direct a fair amount of our marketing budget now into Google ads or other areas of SEO.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, let's say if you had to start over completely again with your practice, what would you do differently?
I probably wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, to be honest, I think I was really lucky that I had a good plan. And the things that I didn't plan for were the things I couldn't have planned for anyway. Like, I just had to learn some of this along the way. Like, you just trial and error, and all of a sudden you hit a wall, and it's like, I need to learn about that. I think having the career pathways that we've got now would have been fantastic from the beginning. Because the beginning was, I didn't have that structure for my team. And I think we did initially. I've retained some of my team from, day one. They've been with me for 4 years, and some of them are now moved up and they're running clinics and they're, doing some amazing things. So I've been lucky in that sense, but we've also had a few team members that I think moved on because we were going through growing pains, and we didn't quite have the structure and the systems that we have now. So I would have loved to be able to, reverse time and put that back then. But I didn't know about it back then. I had a sort of, it took me a while to even wake up to that.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. And for our second to last question, what's your best piece of advice for people that are wanting to have a crack at starting their own practice?
Plan. You need to plan. I think the people that I know that have started practices that I know, like, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's painful. It's hard work. It's think about whether you really want to do it before you do it. But having a plan, like, I remember when I first started, I had a plan that I wanted 5 large practices in 10 years. And I remember interviewing my first person. His name's Ben. He's an awesome physio. I had this huge 200 square meter practice, and I'm saying to Ben, we're going to have 5 practices in 10 years. And I'm looking around going, he's not going to believe it. But because I had a clear vision and I had a clear plan, like, I didn't know how I was going to make it happen. I just said, this is what I want. And then I kind of stepped my way towards it. And I think if you do that, that's probably my first tip. and try and systemize as much as you can. Like I started with manuals that talked about our core values and talked about our company vision and our company mission. I had things around, you know, policies and procedures. I had all of that at the very beginning, which I think allowed us to grow to a certain point.
Yeah.
And then when you get to that point, that's when you need to create more systems. So you kind of have to break through each time, but have as much documented and structure as you can to allow that growth. Otherwise, growing that big is really hard. Really hard.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And
the other thing I would...
No, sorry. No, you go.
The other thing I'd say is just don't give up. You know, it's gonna be hard. There's gonna be times where, like, I failed so many times at so many things. But because I had this thing I really wanted and I knew I wanted it, and everyone's telling me I can't have it. They're like, nah, it's too hard. You're never gonna do it. No one's ever had 5 that quickly. I just didn't give up. I just don't let anyone talk you out of it, even though it can be hard, and rely on some support from friends and colleagues and things like that. Ask for help, but just, don't listen to everyone saying you can't do it, in my opinion.
Yeah, so you've been in business for 4 years, is that, do you say?
4 years,
and you're up to 7 locations.
Yeah, and
that's pretty good. You smashed it.
3 months.
Yeah,
I have. But as I've gone along, I've kind of reevaluated that and realized, you know, what I want to do next. So I'm trying to create a legacy. I'm trying to create the best workplace in Australia. I'm trying to create a place that people want to work and that have awesome jobs and have real career opportunities. I want to really, like, kind of change the profession.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. And for our final point, what's the future plans moving forward?
We've got 2 more opening in the next 3 months. I got 1 more opening.
Oh my God. Yeah, wow.
But what happened is I had them staged over 3 years, and then because of COVID and everything, they've all happened at once. So, and then I hopefully will be able to have a year or so just to consolidate. But part of it for me is, like, as I'm trying to create these possibilities for my team, it's like, well, I need to have the scale and the size. I need to have these other clinics where people could manage, or people could go in and become mentors in those. So I don't know, like, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm loving it. But I think I'm going to get better and better at it. And I'm lucky, as the scale gets bigger, I've got more sort of team to support me. Because to begin with, I was doing every job myself, and I wasn't very good at some of those jobs. So it's great to have others that have talents, and I can stick to my talents.
Awesome. Well, I would love to touch on really how you navigated through COVID, because obviously that was, especially with you guys over in Sydney, like, that was crazy.
We were very lucky. Lucky, maybe not. I think it was foresight, and because I'm naturally a risk taker. I don't know if that's come out in this conversation. So when COVID happened, I doubled our marketing budget. I started spending more. Everyone else was freaking out. Everyone else was saving money. Everyone else was doing this. I'm like, nah, we need to double it. We need to double our output. So we started doubling our social media output. We started doubling our marketing. We did a lot of stuff to make sure our clients knew that we were going above and beyond. Like, we introduced temperature testing, and we have rapid antigen testing at the moment. We did a lot of stuff before anyone else did. And I think we got in front of it quickly. So we were out there messaging our clients and everything else very early on. And as a result, they felt safe. So they still kept coming. It wasn't easy. It was horrible. And one of the things I had to do was go to my team at one point. I'm going to cry. But I had to say to the team, like, we've got enough money to get through sort of 6 months. If we can see this many patients a day, or if we all take a hit, we can get through this long, or we can let the most recent people go. And as a whole team, they all actually volunteered to take reduced pay, which was I'm so proud of that. Like, they said, we want to get through this together. And so we all cut our pay. We all worked harder. And I think that's why we got through. And we are a little bit lucky because we are in a residential areas. Like, if we were in the CBD or the city, I don't think anything we did would have mattered. But I think we were very kind of fortunate being ahead of it. And I just remember I was awake for months at a time. I hardly slept, like writing emails out to clients and coming up with scripts for the team. And it was just, when COVID hit, and for me, I'm an underdog. When I'm down, I'm going to keep fighting.
Yeah.
So we just fought.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks, mate. That's been really interesting to have a chat. And
Thank you, man.
Yeah, a lot of insight. If there's anything that you'd love to touch on, you know, you can go ahead. But yeah, no, it's been awesome to have a chat.
I just think I'm so happy to be a physio. It's the best fluke of my life. I'm so passionate about what we do. I would not do anything else. I've been a physio for 21 years. I would not do anything. I do it for free. But I'm lucky that I'm not doing it for free.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think anyone joining this profession, there's so many opportunities, there's so many potential. And being in business, it's a lot of work. But for me, it's the challenge that I love and the people that I get to help.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks for the time. I really appreciate you letting me talk for so long.
That's all good. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.